It's 2016, and there's no better way to start off this new year than with two scary stories that I wrote myself. So, let's begin. Number 1. On New Year's Eve, I was home alone as my parents and older sister were at a family dinner that I didn't attend because it was boring. I was watching a movie in the living room and I was beginning to fall asleep. I was about to drift off until I heard a knock at the door. I walked to the door and I was about to answer it until I heard the sound of glass shattering and an angry yell in another room. I quickly realized it was a break-in, and I grabbed my cell phone and hid in the closet. I dialed 911 and told the operator about my situation and my address. The operator told me to remain calm and be silent, and that they'll send a few officers over in about 15 minutes. I laid low in the closet, not making a noise, while I heard the person or people in the house yelling and laughing like wild animals. During the wait for the cops, I heard loud footsteps and crazy laughter near the closet door. I felt fear in my heart, and I quickly ducked and hid behind the clothes in my closet, hoping the police would come faster. Then the doorknob to the closet turned, and the door opened. I saw a bearded man smiling his yellow teeth and laughing very crazily. He spotted me and said, "I'm going to make a bloody mess of you." He pulled out a large knife and was about to cut me until I heard the voice of my dad say, "Get the hell out of here, you bastards." The man with the knife suddenly turned his attention to him and ran at my father. He tried to stab him, but my dad, who was a trained veteran, socked him in the face and knocked him out. My mom and older sister made sure I was alright, while my dad checked if there was other people in the house. 2 minutes later, 5 cops came in and arrested the man my dad knocked out. The cops then searched through the area and found other 3 men upstairs and 2 men in our backyard. The men were convicted with intrusion and sent to prison and won't be released until 2035. Number 2. At 12 o'clock a.m. on January 1st, I was working a late-night janitor shift in a local hospital. The hospital was a bit scary at night because there was nobody at the hospital except for a few doctors and nurses filling out some paperwork and medical records in their offices. It was scary, but at least it was quiet and I could get my work done faster. On that night, something eerie happened. I was mopping the floor until I saw a girl in white clothing standing down the hall. I was confused because no one else was supposed to be in the hallway. She seemed too young to be a doctor or nurse, and she also couldn't be a patient because no patients were staying in the hospital at this time. I hollered to the girl, "Hey, what are you doing here?" After I said that, the figure ran to the right hall. If you're confused, the hospital has one long hallway, and at the end of the hall, there are 2 more halls, one left and one right. Anyways, after she ran away, I ran down the hall and turned right. I looked for any signs of the girl, but saw nothing. I continued to mop until I heard a high-pitched scream down the right hall. I ran to the end of the hall and couldn't find anything. When I started to walk back to the spot I was mopping, I heard the same scream from one of the doors I passed. I got curious, so I unlocked the door where the screaming came from and took a peek at the room of what happened there. It was the girl. She was violently screaming and shaking. I was feeling threatened by her violent behavior, so I quickly backed away and locked the door. After I processed what happened, I began to walk slowly from the door due to my shock of what happened. Then the door began to shake rapidly, and the girl was screaming on the other side. I fell back in fear and quickly got up and ran. I ran down the hall to the nearest room with light and found a doctor working late. I told the doctor what happened, but he didn't believe me. I decided to take him to the room with the screaming. He heard the screams and saw the door violently shake. He was convinced, so we ran to the telephone in his office, since the building was in an area with no reception. We dialed the cops and they came over. The cops found the girl still shaking and screaming in the room. She was so unstable that the cops had to taser her. They took the girl into their car and made sure she was paralyzed so something dangerous won't happen. The cops took her to a psych ward where she'll be under close watch. It's New Year's Eve and 10 years since this happened. And the only things that I know about the girl now is that she's currently 22 years of age and she's out in the public without supervision.